All right, welcome everybody once again to Pause with Phil. I am Philip Boyce. I'm a peer support specialist at the R3 Recovery Center here in Wilkesboro. And thanks for tuning in today on this Wellness Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a good day today. We missed last week, had some things come up, so I'm due for a pause. Hopefully you all are in need of a pause as well. And you might be asking yourself, well, what is the pause? What is practicing the pause? Often in our lives, we can get so busy and have so much stuff going on that we neglect the things that really we should be on the lookout for, and that's our own wellness and self-care. And so what we do here with practicing the pause is we do something called mindfulness. That's kind of how we start. We start with a mindful exercise. And you might have heard that word before, mindfulness. It's brought up quite often, but you might not be sure exactly what mindfulness is. Well, mindfulness is the basic human ability to be present. And that's what we want to do here, with this space that we have, this time that we have. It's just an hour. We've got so much other stuff going on. We need to just take that time, I believe, to practice our self-care and well-being. And like I said, it's only an hour. It's only an hour. And if I think if we choose to do this on a regular basis, to take that hour and just have that time out to practice the pause, I believe that our lives are going to be improved for it. And I can tell, if I stop practicing things that I should, seems like life can get out of balance. And that's what wellness is. It's about tuning in and about finding balance. And so if you feel like your life is just really chaotic right now, maybe could be the reason why. Maybe you're neglecting some things like your own self-care and your own wellness. And so that's the reason why, I like teaching this. I'm learning. I can apply it, to my own life, but as well as I think, if everybody else would learn these things, and together we can learn together, I think our lives can be improved. And so that's important. The quality of our life is important. And so wellness is about that. It's about the quality of life. When I was thinking, before I got started, I was thinking about that mindfulness, about being present. And, when I was going to school at a young age, I was diagnosed with ADD, attention deficit disorder. I had trouble concentrating in class, trouble paying attention. I had some difficulties there, and I was thinking, my mind often wanders. And that's what it's talking about with mindfulness. Is about being present. It's being focused on where you are. It's being in the moment. And I think that's something that, has been neglected as well. And that's something that we have to practice. And I was just thinking, there in school, instead of, maybe taking medication or something, if I could have learned mindfulness or meditation or some of these other exercises, if that could have really helped me. And I think it could have, but those things are in the past. I can't really do anything about that now, but I can practice these things today. I can choose to implement these things in my life, like mindfulness. Like I said, mindfulness is the basic human ability to be present. That's what we want to do with this space and time today together. We want to be present, to practice mindfulness, to be aware of where we are and what we're doing. And so it's not being overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. It's about being here in the present. So it's not all in your head. You can practice mindfulness by sitting down for a formal meditation practice, or by being more intentional and aware of the things you do each day. And if you've tuned in to practicing the pause with Phil, I like my tea. I got my tea here, and that's something that helps me with stress levels. Do you ever feel like you're just kind of wound up stressed, overwhelmed. There's sometimes I haven't noticed this morning that sometimes I can have so much stress, I can actually look at my hands and kind of see, my fingers shaking and stuff. It just so much stress, is what we can carry in our body. Did you know that you can carry stress in your body, that you can carry trauma in your body? There's a book that's called The Body Keeps the Score, and it talks about that, about how we can carry trauma, in our body. And a lot of us in recovery have experienced those things. We've haven't learned how to deal with stress and trauma in a way that is beneficial, that doesn't cause more harm. And so these are things that we have to find different ways to deal with and to work on these things. And I believe looking at wellness can help us to do that by practicing mindfulness, by practicing breathing, by trying to get a handle on our stress. And one of the ways I do that is with tea. I found some teas that really help, that work with stress. And so, with these practicing the pause, I create this environment. I create this environment that help me to be more mindful. And so I get my tea, and as I'm pouring my tea, as I'm making my tea, all that, I'm being aware, I'm being present of what I'm doing. And then with tea, it unlocks even more of our senses. So I can smell the aroma of the tea. I can feel the warmth of the tea as I'm drinking the tea. I can feel the change that it's bringing. It's calming me down. And so all those things I can get out of being mindful and drinking tea. Another thing I do, for y'all that's tuned in the past, this, I light a candle. And so the candle puts out an aroma. And so I'm really creating that environment. And one of the dimensions of wellness is an environmental dimension. And so since I've been learning about wellness, I know what some of these dimensions are. And if you tune in the past, you know what some of these dimensions are too. And all these dimensions, there's 8 of them. These are all interdependent. So you've got an emotional dimension, you've got a social dimension, you've got a physical dimension, and all these are interdependent. They interlap. And so we learn about these things here with wellness and practicing the pause. We learn more about wellness, and that's to increase our quality of life, to become our best self. And so we start off with practicing the pause by being mindful, being present here in the moment. Often that I ask and invite folks to turn off any distractions, anything that might come up, might bother you, and you just set those things to a side. It's just an hour. It's just an hour. We can be together and we can practice the pause and be mindful here, present in the moment, being aware of what we're doing and where we are. And so we don't want to be overly reactive. We don't want to be overwhelmed by going on around us. And it's not all in our head. You could practice mindfulness by just sitting down for a formal meditation practice, or being more intentional and aware of the things you do each day. Now, nearly every task we do in a day, be it brushing our teeth or eating lunch or talking with friends or exercising, can be done more mindfully. That's what I was just talking about with the tea. Simple things, tasks we perform each day. And so when we're mindful of our actions, we pay more attention to what we are doing. And like I said, I had that problem in school. I couldn't it didn't seem like that I could pay attention to what I was doing. I was constantly being a distraction. My mind was constantly wandering. So as mindfulness is a practice, we do this intentional with mindfulness. We learn these exercises, we learn these practices that can help us to be more mindful of our actions, and we can pay more attention to what we are doing. And so it's the opposite of just going through the motions. Instead, you're tuned into your senses. You notice your thoughts and your emotions. And by building mindfulness into your daily life. You can practice mindfulness even when you're too busy to meditate. A lot of times we think we have to just get it right. We have to sit a certain way. We've got to think about it a certain way. And really it's just tuning in. We learn how to do these things. We can learn how to meditate. And so you might be worried about the time, if you're going to have enough time to do it, or if you could do it for long periods of time. Sometimes we look and we say, well, I can't meditate for 30 or 45 minutes. That's just too long. Well, let's start where you're at. Wellness is really about starting where you are. It's tailor-made to you. And so at the outset, you might be worried about the time. Well, do I have time to meditate? Well, let's just take it where you're at. If you're just beginning meditation, you can choose a short time. It can be helpful just to choose a short time. Maybe it's 5 to 10 minutes. And eventually you can increase that. You can build up to twice as long, but you have to start somewhere. Start where you're at. And then maybe as you continue to practice meditation, then maybe you can build it up and increase it to 45 minutes or an hour. And so it might be helpful if you have a timer. You can get a timer. You can maybe have one on your phone. You can set that. Many people do a session in the morning and in the evening, or one or the other. But I really feel that it's important to intentionally set aside a time that you can pause. You can pause, turn off the distractions. Just be present, be mindful, be aware, be in the now. And so you can intentionally set a time to do a meditation session, maybe in the morning or in the evening, or one or the other, or both. And so if you feel like your life is just busy, you just have just a little time, doing some is better than none. And I want to stress that. I've stressed this in the past. Doing some is better than none. But it takes practice. It's intentional. It's purposefully setting aside a time. And so when you get a little space and time, you can do it a bit more. But again, doing some is better than none. And so it's good to create that environment. I talked about creating that environment, creating that space, that environmental dimension. I like to do that with tea and candle. I've got some meditation music I like to turn on. It's just really creating that space, creating that time and place to be mindful and aware. And so I hope that you have a good spot. Maybe it could be a project that you're going to create that spot for yourself. Maybe it's a meditation spot. It's just a place where you can turn off distractions, that you can just get away and you can be mindful in that time, practicing wellness and self-care. And so hopefully you have a good spot, that you create that good environment there, good spots in your house, perhaps. And you want this ideally to be where there's not a whole lot of clutter. Even before this, I had to clean up. I cleaned up, the table around me. I had some stuff that was on the table. I just had to clean up. I had to clean up, kind of around me there. And so it's good to find a spot, ideally where there's not too much clutter, where you can find some quiet. Like I said, it's important that we turn off those distractions, anything that might interrupt us, to just be. Lighting is important too. It's important to leave the lights on, or you can even sit in natural light. And I've talked about this in the past. When I first started learning how to meditate, I would be so relaxed, I felt like falling asleep. And sometimes I did, and I asked the meditation instructor. I said, "Is this usual? Do people usually sometimes fall asleep?" And he said, yeah, there's nothing to worry about. And he even gave me some tips that, I could practice walking meditation. So if you find yourself just kind of dozing off, maybe it could be the sound of my voice. It could be anything. You're just getting so relaxed that you feel like you're just falling asleep. Well, you can do this standing up. There's walking meditation. There's things that you can do. I ended up researching some more of that on the internet, and so you can do the same thing. Whatever problems that you feel like you might be having, just kind of letting go, not being so um, active. You feel like you can't really shut down, and whatever problems that you have, the internet's a good tool that you can kind of search, and find out some helpful tips. And so it's good to create that environment, that quiet place, free yourself from distractions. It's important to leave the lights on so you're not going to be dozing off and falling asleep. You can even sit outside. A lot of people really enjoy doing outside meditation. I do too. Sometimes when I go on trips, whether it's a hike up into Stone Mountain or wherever it might be, you can do it anywhere. That's what's so great about mindfulness and meditation. You can do it literally anywhere. You can do it in your car, wherever you want to have that spot where, you're not going to be interrupted, and you can just kind of quiet yourself there and practice this. Just choose a place with little distractions. That's so important. Posture, a lot of people might have questions about, well, how do I sit and all that. Really, you just want to sit in a comfortable position, where you can be relaxed and not too tense. And so that's something that you might want to do too. Is there's different practices. I found, ever since I've began practicing, there's some things I do that can help. I do want to sit up, I feel like that's important. Some people like having their shoes off with their feet, touching the ground. Some people, put importance to the hands. I kind of do this thing where I kind of lock my thumbs. I put my thumbs like that, and I put my fingers together, and I kind of do that there, and I kind of put that on, my stomach there, and that really seems like that helps. It helps me to, I don't know, just kind of get into meditation and kind of let go. And that's something that I've done. I just picked up. I've noticed that there are different hand gestures, with this practice. Different folks do. I just did what feels comfortable, and really, that's what I've heard too. If there's any tips, any suggestions, just do what feels comfortable. It comes naturally to you. And so, if you've had some questions, maybe you're wondering, well, how do I sit? Posture. Really, just be relaxed. Be relaxed, and do what comes naturally there to you, and that can change over time too as you continue to practice these things. But it was important that you create that space, that you feel relaxed, that you I like sitting down. That's kind of how I first started. Like I say, if you do feel yourself dozing off, you stand. That's okay too. But if you'd like to now, if you want to go ahead and hopefully as you've got that environment created, maybe you're cleaning up clutter as you're listening. Maybe you're finding ways to turn off any distractions and any interruptions. And so now you're able to do that. And maybe you found a comfortable place. Maybe it's a cushion, something really nice, that you can sit on, that's going to be real comfortable and help you relax. That's important. Notice what your legs are doing. With mindfulness, it's important to be aware of your body. That's kind of what helps us to tune in to our senses and our thoughts and our emotions. That's what mindfulness is really about. It's really tuning in. And so, one part of mindfulness meditation is really tuning in, kind of feeling what's in our body, kind of noticing what your arms and your legs are doing. First, notice what your legs are doing when you're sitting down. If you're on a cushion on the floor, you can cross your legs comfortably in front of you, whatever is going to feel natural there too. Some folks will go into a yoga position, yoga posture. We're now, we started that at the R3 Center on Saturdays. So, that's another way that we can practice our wellness. So you might want to check that out. Maybe learn about yoga. If you already know some yoga postures, you can go ahead and do some of that. Now, if you're on a chair, it's good if the bottoms of your feet are touching the floor. A lot of folks will say that just because of the grounding. They feel more grounded, with the this exercise. And so that's okay too. And it's okay if you take off your shoes. A lot of folks will say that too. That helps them to be better grounded. Whatever is going to really help you to be mindful and be aware of the present. And you want to straighten. You want to sit up straight, but you don't really want to be too stiff there. So the spine has natural curvature, and so let it just be there. Let that curvature naturally be there. Your head and your shoulders can comfortably rest on the top of your vertebrae. Maybe you want to notice and tune into what your arms are doing. You feel your arms there parallel to your upper body. You can let your hands drop onto the tops of your legs. With your upper arms at your sides, your hands will land in the right spot. Too far forward will make you hunch. Too far back will make you stiff. And so you're just tuning into the strings of your body, not too tight and not too loose. You can drop your chin a little and let your gaze fall gently downward. You may let your eyelids lower. That's okay too. If you feel the need, you may lower them completely. But it's not necessary to close your eyes when meditating. You can simply let what appears before your eyes be there without focusing on it. And so I invite you now just to practice the pause. Just be there for a few moments. Let's breathe in and relax. Breathe in. Bring your attention to your breath. It's important here. We just want to focus on our breath. Bring attention to your breath. Feel the sensations in your body. Some say, feel your breath. Breathe in. Nice, long, deep breath if you can. And just release that through the out breath. Feel your breath there. Breathe in. Some will even say, follow your breath as it goes out and as it goes in. Some versions of this practice put more emphasis on the out breath. And for the in breath, you simply leave a spacious pause. It's good to breathe in, continue to breathe in, focused and aware of your breath as you breathe in, and then breathe out. Notice the rhythm there. As you breathe in, it's like a circle there, and then you breathe out like the tide of the ocean there as it rolls in and then it rolls back out. Just be aware of your breath as you breathe in, as you release with the out breath. Draw your attention to the physical sensation of breathing. The air moving through your nose or mouth, the rising and the falling of your belly or chest. Choose your focal point. And with each breath, you can mentally note breathing in, breathing out. Again, breathing in, breathing out. And as we continue to be aware of our breath, of our breathing, inevitably your attention will leave the breath and wander to other places. Like I was talking about there with ADD, my mind wanders. The mind will wander. Don't worry. Mind does it. So there's no need to block or try to eliminate your thinking. When you get around to noticing your mind wandering, in a few seconds or a minute or 5 minutes, just gently return your attention to the breath. Again, breathe in, breathing in, breathing out. breathing in, breathing out. Practice the pause. Practice the pause before making any physical adjustments. So maybe, you're there in the meditation and your elbow begins to itch, or maybe a spot on your leg, or you feel like moving. Practice the pause before you make any adjustments. Practice the pause before making any physical adjustments, such as moving your body or scratching an itch. And then with intention, shift at a moment that you choose, allowing space between what you experience and what you choose to do. Here we are practicing the pause. We're being mindful of our breathing, being aware of any sensations in our body. We're tuning in to our emotions and our thoughts. We're tuning into the strings of our body. So as we breathe in, breathing out, you may find your mind wandering constantly. That's normal too. Instead of wrestling with or engaging with those thoughts as much, practice observing without needing to react. Just observe. You're an observer, watching those thoughts go by like dead leaves on a stream. You're just noticing them there, watching them as they pass by. Just sit and pay attention. As hard as it is to maintain, that's all there is. Just come back over and over again to your breath. Come back to your breath without judgment or expectation. Just simply breathe. Breathe in, breathing in, breathing out. When you're ready, gently lift your gaze. If your eyes are closed, open them. And take a moment. Notice any sounds in the environment. Notice how your body feels right now. Notice your thoughts and emotions. And then just pausing for a moment. Decide how you'd like to continue on with your day. And that's it. That's the practice. It's often been said that it's very simple, but it's not necessarily easy. The work is just to keep doing it. Results will accrue. I hope now that you feel a little bit lighter. I hope that's helped you some. It always helps me to tune in, and I said it sounds easy, but it takes work. It's a practice. And that's what we do here. We practice the pause. Practicing the pause every Wednesday, every Wellness Wednesday. We like to call it there at the center. Wednesdays from 2 to 3. And I also like to not only practice the pause and to give these mindfulness exercise and breathing exercises, tips to help with our self-care and wellness, but also like to discuss a little bit about wellness, what wellness is. And we continue on with learning here about wellness. I think it helps to know more about it, that we can practice wellness and enhance the quality of our life to become our best self. And so a lot of these videos, they've been uploaded on YouTube that you can go back and you can check them out at any time. So if you missed some things, you can go back and kind of review. Wellness is a journey. And so it's not something that you're just going to do and get fixed. Do it one time and get fixed and everything's just going to be fine. No, it's a practice. It's something that we have to keep on looking at and determine where we're at. Wellness is a journey. We move towards wellness. We're either moving towards wellness or away from wellness. And it is a journey. It's like we say, the folks say in recovery, it's progression. It's a progression. It's progress, not perfection. Wellness is a journey. We're at all different stages of wellness. Each one of us, we're individual, we have, we're unique. Wellness is a journey. Yeah, I like this saying. It's by Bob Dylan. It says, "He not busy born is busy dying." What's your thoughts on that? What does that mean to you? He not busy being born is busy dying. I think it's that each day, this is what it means for me. Each day is a new day. It's like being born again, right? It's a day that I haven't seen. It's a day that I can experience and get the most out of it. But I have a choice. I have a choice to live in the day, which being mindful and being present can help us to do that. Because if I'm living in the past or I'm living in the future, I'm not really living in the day. And so he not busy being born is busy dying. What's your thoughts on that? If you've got some thoughts, how about writing those down in the comment section there? I'd be curious to see what that means to you. He not busy being born is busy dying. Wellness is a journey. It's never a static state. It's never a static state. You don't just get well or stay well. We're moving. We're on this journey. We're moving either towards wellness or away from wellness. And it can take work and effort to dig down and discover what our true needs are. What are some of your true needs? Have you ever looked at that? When I first started this today, I said, there's so many times we neglect what's important, like self-care, like taking an hour out of our day or week to just be present. What's some of our true needs? What are your true needs? Do you know what they are? One of the things we look at in wellness is that there's a cause and effect. So either what I do or I don't do, which is the cause, has an effect. It has an effect on our life. The holistic approach here, which wellness is it looks at those 8 dimensions that we talk about. And so the cause, what I do or don't do, can have an effect on those 8 dimensions. Wellness is never a static state. We're moving either towards wellness or away from wellness. And wellness isn't what a lot of folks may think. It's not just simply the absence of disease. There's much more to it. Wellness, there's so much more to wellness than simply the absence of disease. It looks at our emotional states. You know what your emotional states are? One of the emotional states is boredom, or it could be depression or anxiety. And did you know that emotional states often set the stage of physical disease through the lowering of the body's resistance? Did you know that emotional states can set the stage for physical disease through the lowering of the body's resistance? These same feelings, these emotional states, can also lead to abuses. Abuses like smoking, excessive alcohol or drug use, and overeating. And so wellness really looks at getting to the root causes, these symptoms. It looks at the symptoms and the behaviors. And these symptoms and behaviors represent only the tip of the iceberg. They are the surface indicators of underlying human needs. And so with wellness, we look and discover what are those underlying needs that we all have. It can be a need for recognition from others. It can be a need for a stimulating environment. It can be a need for caring and affection from friends. It can be a need for a sense of purpose, and it could be a need for self-acceptance. Those are some of our true needs. And so it can take work and effort to dig down deep and discover what these true needs are. You see, diseases and symptoms are not really the problem. They're actually the mind, body, spirit's attempt to solve a problem. They are a message from the subconscious to the conscious. Much of contemporary medical practice is involved with chipping away at surface needs. It just looks at the disease portion. It looks at the surface needs. So if you go and, if you have a cough, you have a cold, they say, well, there's the cold. That's what much of contemporary medical practice is involved with. It chips away at the surface needs. Its orientation is towards treating and eliminating the evidence of disease. And this is important, but it's not enough. It's essential to look below the surface signs to address the real needs. And those were some of the real needs that we just looked at. Those true needs: recognition from others, stimulating environment, caring and affection from friends, a sense of purpose, self-acceptance. Those are some of the real needs are. And so wellness, we look at wellness here and we really begin to understand this definition, that wellness extends the definition of health to encompass a process of integration characterized by awareness, education, and growth. And that's what we try to do here at Practicing the Pause. Is I like to give practical tools to begin with, with those mindfulness exercises, the breathing exercises, that we make it practical. And then we begin to learn, and that's the education part. And so, really with this class that I facilitate here is we look at EAT, which is EAT, EAT, education, awareness, and tools. And that's what I try to implement here, with teaching this course. And so we look and we see that we're all on this journey. We're either moving towards wellness or away from wellness. That health is not the mere absence of illness. Health is a continual striving to live a life that is full, meaningful, zestful, and exuberant. It's really about the quality of life. How is your quality of life? Would you say that your life is full, that it's meaningful, that it's zestful, that it's exuberant? We look here at the wellness continuum. Like I said, we're either moving towards wellness or away from wellness. You can see this high level wellness here on the right. This is what's known as the illness wellness continuum. This is something that a man by the name of John W. Travis, developed. And he developed these positions of the wellness continuum with the eventual goal of self-actualization. Self-actualization just simply means becoming your best self. And so this continuum here that we see, this illustrates the relationship between the allopathic medical paradigm or any other symptom treatment system and the wellness paradigm, which is based on self-responsibility. And so I see today that I have a role to play, and that's one of the things that really helped in my recovery, is to see that I have a responsibility, that this is my life and it's up to me to decide what I'm going to do with it. I have a role to play regarding my own health. And so this continuum here that we're looking at, you can see moving from the center to the left, it shows a progressively worsening state of health. You see it begins with the signs and then the symptoms and then the disability and then eventually towards premature death. When I was using, I had signs in my life. It was kind of oblivious to me. I think a lot of other people saw it. It could be jails, institution, some of the symptoms that I had, and I began to learn in recovery that My youth was only a symptom. My youth was only a symptom. A lot of disability can come out of that. You can look at all the way to, whether it's housing or job loss, that's a disability. And then eventually it can lead to premature deaths. You see, I was moving away from wellness and a high level wellness. And so moving from the center to the left, it shows a progressively worsening state of health. Moving to the right of center shows increasing levels of health and well-being. That begins by awareness, right? So I can learn about substance use. I can become aware of my problem. I can become aware of my situation. I can become educated. I can learn more about it. I can begin getting support, and I can begin growing towards recovery, towards a high level wellness there. So moving to the right of center shows increasing levels of health and well-being. But you see, traditional medicine is oriented towards curing evidence of disease, but eventually stops at the midpoint. Well medicine begins at any point on the scale with the goal of helping a person move as far to the right as he or she is willing to go. And so wellness begins, and get this, wellness begins when an individual sees himself or herself as a growing, changing person. I'll say that again. Wellness begins when an individual sees himself or herself as a growing, changing person. And so you see there, all the way to the right, you see this high level wellness. High level wellness means giving care to the physical self. High level wellness means using the mind constructively. High level wellness means channeling stress energies positively. High level wellness means expressing emotions effectively. High level wellness means becoming creatively involved with others. High level wellness means staying in touch with the environment. And so if I was to break that down simply, wellness is self-care, it's mindfulness, it's stress management, it's emotional expressiveness, it's community connection, and it's environmental awareness. And so the eventual goal of wellness is the actualization of one's true psychophysical, spiritual potential. Wellness is Maslow's notion of self-actualization, becoming your best self. As well as Maslow's notion of self-actualization carried to its natural extension as growth towards the full integration of mind, body, spirit, and environment. And so you see the end point is not really an end. It's not perfection. It's a continual cycle towards higher levels of wellness. It's a progress. It's a journey. We look at wellness. We also tend to deficiency needs. What's lacking? What are we deficient in? What needs need to be met? What are these being needs? If you've ever looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you've ever seen that, if you look through the wellness lens, we see some familiar terms. Each of his levels of needs correlate with the principles most wellness theories value also. And so some of the deficient needs that Maslow pointed out, Maslow held that part of being a living organism was that our deficiency needs took precedent in our motivation for behavior. Maslow was stating why we do what we do. What do we do it for? Often we're going after our deficiency needs, what we lack. And so you woke up this morning because you had a deficiency need. You had a deficiency need there in your body as a living organism because we need sleep. That's a physiological need. You woke up this morning and maybe one of the first things you did was you got a glass of water. Well, that's because we have a deficiency need where we thirst. Or you got up and you fixed yourself a bowl of cereal or some breakfast. That's because you have the physiological need to eat. And so Maslow believed that we do the things we do the things that we do is because it's our motivation for behavior. I eat because I'm hungry. I sleep because I'm tired, so forth and so on. And so he highlighted these as deficiency needs, what we lack. And the first one would be physiological needs. The second one is safety needs. The third is social needs. And the fourth is esteem needs. And so these deficiency needs comes first in our motivation for behavior, why we do what we do. And so for survival, really what he's talking about, and more so as he goes down or up the pyramid toward high level wellness or self-actualization is what his term is from survival. And it's building from a physiological base, right? We have to meet those needs really before we go up that pyramid and to seek higher level needs. And so building from a physiological base, we have to survive, and breathing, drinking, and eating always comes first. So you see that in the physiological needs. Breathe, eat, drink, just like I was talking about there with sleeping. You got up and maybe you got a drink of water and maybe a bowl of cereal, you ate some breakfast. Those things were coming first there, physiological needs. Are any survivalists out there? Any campers? I used to do some camping, and when I'd go and I'd be a minimalist, so I'd take my own gear and I'd pack through the woods. One of the first things that I would look for is maybe a place to set up camp, and there's maybe a certain order that you go looking for things if you want to survive in the woods for a period of time. One of the things we do is we look for a water source, right? Or shelter, a place to set up camp, or maybe food would come next. You see, we're looking at all these deficiency needs. And when deficiency needs, whether it be physiological or safety or social esteem needs, are not met, we do not function well. There's that wellness term, right? We do not function well. If these needs aren't met, we do not function well. We eventually become ill or die. You might have been a fan of the Survivor show or Naked and Afraid, and you see that when these needs aren't met, you start seeing weight loss, right? These people are living in the woods, begin experiencing weight loss pretty rapidly. You start to see them getting sick. It's different things because their needs aren't being met. And so when our needs aren't being met, these deficiency needs are not met. When those aren't not met, we do not function well. We eventually become ill or die. And so this applies not only to the obvious situations of suffocation, dehydration, starvation, but also to the somewhat higher yet still deficiency-based needs of safety, needs of belongingness, and needs of esteem. And so remember that when deficiency needs are not met, we do not function well, and we eventually become ill or die. And so when these needs are not met, Maslow argued, we see the rise of psychopathology. Psychopathology is a scientific study of mental disorders. When these needs are not met, Maslow argued that we see the rise of mental disorders, mental or behavioral disorder. Psychopathology is the study of abnormal cognitions, behavior, and experiences. And so you see that these deficiency needs, they need to be met. If not, we suffer. we become ill or die. And Maslow argued that when these needs are not met, we see the rise of psychopathology, which is mental disorders, mental or behavioral disorder. And so those needs need to be met. The rise in mental health disorders is linked to unmet needs, Maslow would argue. Aberrant, or which means abnormal, behavior and neurosis comes from unmet needs. Maybe that gives us something to think about there. I think it's pretty interesting. I try to explain it as best I can. Hopefully you got something out of that, and we can pick up next time. But I hope that this is helping you as we practice the pause, as we learn about wellness, as we discover how to do this. Just take the time out. Thank you for tuning in. If we can be of any help there to you, the Recovery Center is open. We're there in Wilkes from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Feel free to drop in, call us, write us. We'd like to hear from you. If we can help you out in your recovery journey, your wellness journey, we would like to be there to assist and to help in any way we can. So again, thank you for tuning in today. Hope that you have a good rest of your Wellness Wednesday, and see you next time. Bye.